ridiculous amount of people. So, so you're doing really well.
Look at the people.
I tried that approach here, filming them when they were doing things wrong, and use excessive use of force and stuff like that. I've tried that approach, and they get right in your face, and then again you have all this footage, and where do you turn it to? There's nobody here in Kenora. You can't go to the police here because they're in cahoots. They're all buddies, they're not gonna, they'll just take your evidence or take your footage and get rid of it or whatever. So it's like, where do you go from there? And you go higher, I guess. And
yeah, we spent an entire year, like our first year of Cop Watch was spent doing media work and doing like outreach work, like meeting with different organizations and meeting with different people to like get it known throughout Winnipeg that we were going to be doing what we were planning on doing. And I think that's really what helped us from, like, we haven't had too many bad experiences with filming. Like when we go out and film, they generally aren't harassing us for doing that. Yeah. And I think that's because of how much work we did beforehand, like so that the media knew we were doing that. So if something happened to us, then like it would kind of be like this big
thing. There were examples of them trying to intimidate.
It still wasn't great all the time.
But in like a small place like this, you see so much. Like they intimidate you, and they, like my cousin Dave was saying, they don't now, since it's OPP, it's not one or two. They come in force like 6, 8, 10. And they're not. Even if you try to comply with them, they still try to bully you around and whatever. So it's,
And maybe we're just letting you know about like what our group is, not saying that that's gonna work here or that's like what you guys should do here or anything, just letting you know like this is what we do, this is one idea, one tactic that people use, but like really the thing I like about Cop Watch is it's very different in every city, like it's very much like what works in your own community. So
I never heard of that up in Edmonton.
Yeah, I don't think there is one in Edmonton.
Should be.
Yeah.
There's folks interested in getting one.
I was supposed to have kicked a 6-foot centimeter in the head. Nothing. But they still never got charged with it. But they got it on their computer in the car. And like, I didn't even do anything. Like, got a cab ride home. I was right out in front of my house. And the cab driver phoned. Said I had no money, but I got a MasterCard in the door. I got just payday, right? But they were gonna either you take the fraud, not paying the cab, or for kicking a 6'7" cop in the head. I go, oh,
5'6". How can you kick?
wow, what the hell? I must be a good jumper.
Like Alex was saying, I always think it's really important that the community starts with the community, because there is like you can go on from there. Like there is like you do big get-togethers though. Some of them I'm not too sure about it. But
yeah, I can talk about what sort of things we do. Like the patrolling is just like one small part of what we do, the going out on the street with the cameras. We also do a lot of like workshops, like things like this, coming out to different folks that are interested in starting up things like this, or like just getting the idea that police brutality exists kind of out there. Like sometimes it's hard to actually talk about it because people are like, oh, it's not real, or people deserve it if they get it, or like those sort of attitudes exist. So kind of trying to challenge
in Winnipeg, like you were saying, you see it all the time. Here, they kind of cover it, so it's only like people that have the guts to come up and step up and say. But I mean,
people are a lot scared.
Like
too, there's a lot of intimidation tactics.
Like I mean, Friday alone, like I witnessed 8 cops beat up on a girl probably the size of my little cousin Angie. She's like what, 120, 130. And it took 8 cops to, and they roughed her up. But whatever. Like there was a bunch of us guys there, but like, you know what? If we interfere, what's gonna happen?
Yeah. Assault PO is what you're.
Oh yeah, exactly. They're not gonna hold out. And we even had cameras. Like it's on tape too. They took her to the hospital and said that she fell on a piece of glass and cut her arm. And that's not what happened. Like they literally dragged that poor girl like.
And what do you do at that who do you go to?
She's a girl. Like I mean, I can see. Like if a guy comes up to you, punching him in the face or whatever, like restraining them or whatever. But a girl, like there's no reason for that force that they use on her. Like I mean, for me, example, when it comes to cops, I hate cops. But I mean, every time I run into them, I fight with them. So you know, but like I mean, she wasn't even doing anything. She was trying to go home and go to sleep.
So you need to know what to do when that happens, and if you could just wait and listen for Alex to, you'll know, and then we can do a little talk about it. But I really will need to hear from.
Yeah, maybe we should like save just our discussions or our stories and our personal examples till after, and we'll just like run through this stuff quickly.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay. So just just talk about what else we do. We also do a lot of public events, like marches. Every March 15th, we do an International Day Against Police Brutality march, and people will come out and share stories, or just come out and just be like a presence in the street of people that, you know, have experienced it, or know people that have experienced it, or support people that have experienced it, and just it's kind of nice to just march through the streets with people that understand and care. And
Support.
Yeah. We also do sharing circles, and we think those are really important for what Les was talking about. It's like from changing feelings of it being like this was my fault, like this experience that I had must have been something I did, like why did it happen to me, and into like talking with other people and hearing so many other people that have the stories, and then it becoming, well, maybe it's not just my issue, like maybe we all have this experience, and maybe we have to do something around. And we also do like some sort of like some lobbying stuff, like changes to the Police Act, and we had the camera campaign because people were being arrested for filming the police, so doing a lot of work around that to make it to try and make it so people.
So it's actually really against the law to film them?
No, it's not against the law. Yeah, we
Maybe
have
we should.
I guess we're gonna talk about rights in a little bit.
Yeah.
But, yeah. But so just like pushing, like saying like it's not illegal, so this can't happen, and bringing it into the public that is going on. And we do a little bit of advocacy, not a lot because it can be pretty like draining, and we don't have really the resources to do it. But we've helped through a couple cases of police violence, like where people led the campaigns and we just offered support in them. So that's a kind of rough idea of what sort of things we do.
I think right now we'll talk a little bit about what our rights are. This will be really broad, and maybe we can talk about it more in detail later. But
we usually do. It's usually a like hour and a half workshop that we do. So we just picked the basically the two rights basically that we thought were the most important for doing cop watch work.
And the main one is obviously that we have the right to watch police, and that is, you know, if we want to talk about law, like that's protected under our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. As like a public servant is what the police are, and as us being members of the public, we can watch them. And as long as we're in a public area, there's no issue with that.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's understandable, for sure.
Yeah, and so, but often police count on people not knowing their rights. And so I think that's probably one of the first things you should know if you're ever going to videotape the police, is that you can. And maybe even giving that spiel to them, like, you are a public servant, we are members of the public, we have the right to watch you. There are cases happening though where cops, you know, will say that you can't watch me, and will try and intimidate you to not to. So, you know, we usually take precautions, and we're like, okay, well, we know that we can watch you, so we're not going to get in your way, maybe we'll just back up to like this spot over here, and just taking the initiative yourself and not allowing them to tell you what to do, but telling them what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Which can be intimidating, and obviously, you know, you have to use your best judgment in every scenario. But so that's the main thing, is that we can watch the police.
But it is important to note though that you do need to be on public property for it to be legal, or have permission if it's on private property. Like if it's in a mall, for example, that's considered private property, and you have to get permission from the owners to videotape in there. And also this interfering, like you can film as long as you're not interfering. So if you're too close, they could say that's interfering or obstruction.
Yeah.
It's a good distance,
so,
about 20 feet.
Yeah.
Like somewhere that you're clearly not in their way, but you're still able to see whatever's going on.
Don't get in between the cop and someone else.
Yeah.
The main thing, I guess.
And something that like we've gotten a lot when filmed or we've heard other people get is they'll say like you're intimidating an officer by filming. That doesn't exist. There's like that. Yeah, they can't charge you with that for filming the police. And I was just
never understood. How can you intimidate an officer when you got a camera and he's got a gun?
They're trained, yeah.
Yeah. So the other one that we thought was important was about like giving ID or talking to the police. And Diane, you've had a couple experience just on putting this event with cops coming and wanting to get information from you.
Yeah. Intimidation, harassment, scaring me. You know, I complained, so I'm kind of scared by myself. So lucky my son was there. So yeah. Very scary.
Yeah. So maybe it's a good thing to know that you don't ever have to talk to the police. You never have to answer any of their questions. The only time that you have to talk to them is if you're being arrested or detained. And if you are being arrested or detained, you can ask them if you're being arrested or detained. And if they say no,
you don't have to talk to them either.
the only thing that you have to say to them at that point, if you are arrested or detained, is your name, your birth date, and your address. Like if you're going to be charged with something.
I find it funny that they're always trying to maintain the upper hand, like showing up today and saying, we're here just to observe that, to let you know you're doing it, and we're here for you. And we're just letting you know we're aware of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Why do you need to be aware of people sitting around and having a conversation? It's not like it's a protest where we're in the street and we need protection against traffic and whatnot. We're sitting just having a conversation. So I just found it funny that they had to make themselves present. It didn't seem necessary at all.
And yeah, it's so often put in this like, for your safety, we need to do these things.
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, that's
put us more in jeopardy than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they say, "Oh, we're here for your safety," but if you sit down and break it down and see all the vandal, like what they do, they're not there protecting you. They're doing more harm to you than protecting you. And even just because of your last name or who you know, like who you grew up with, like they still harass you. Like, I mean, I moved away for 8 years. I was in town 10 minutes. I had 4 cop cars pull up to me. Oh, you're back in the road. Just because of who I am and who I know in my past. Like, I mean, just because of my family and whatever, yeah. That's, like I told them, I was straight out. It was like, people do change. Like, you know, we were doing that when we were younger. I said, people do grow up. I said, you probably had a bad past. I said, if we dug up in your past, I even told that cop, I said, I guarantee you shouldn't even be a cop. I was like, you know, you shouldn't even be a cop. I said, you probably have a worse past than we do.
So you're saying that your right is that you don't have to.
Yep, you never have to, and we recommend people don't ever talk to them unless they feel like they need to for whatever safety reasons or whatever. But like they're allowed to lie to you to get you to answer questions. And
Manipulate you.
They manipulate you.
They're masters of that. Like, they're trained in how to talk to people.
Oh yeah, they pretend you're your friend. That's
And
what
intimidate you by knowing your
Yeah, that's
information.
what
Like,
he
they
did,
straight
yes.
away was
Well, I
asking
got
her
nothing to hide.
what her last name was, where are you from.
yeah.
And one of the things is like a cop will often say like, if you help us, this is gonna help you out in the long run. And the fact is that a cop can't change your charges, only a judge can.
Yeah.
So you don't need to talk to them, and you actually shouldn't, because
Incriminate you.
it could incriminate you in other ways. So we often just say, exercise your right to speak to a lawyer and not to a cop.
Yeah, there's a good video on the internet. What is it called? It's called, probably if you just look up why you shouldn't talk to cops, it's this lawyer or a law professor it's on YouTube, and he just talks about the reasons why you shouldn't talk to the cops, and it's an American thing, so some of it is American law, but it's like gives you a really good like,
But if
okay,
you think about it, American law and Canadian law, it's pretty much the same.
they are quite similar, and I think the
There's
reasons.
a little bit of technicalities on it, but
And the
it's pretty
reasons
much
are
all
the same. Yeah.
So should we move on to documenting?
Yep.
So yeah, we'll skim through this. In terms of actually recording the police, you know, it's always best. You want to get the best picture, you know, if it ever would be used in court, because the courts, you know, have all sorts of ways of just saying that your video is not good enough or whatever.
Acceptable.
So try to have a good perspective, you know, like be far enough away that you can get the entire picture. You can see all the actors if that's possible. We also say like contextualize it. So if you're at a street corner, try to get the street names. Like zoom in like and get a 3-second shot just so it's not blurry or anything. And then getting people's information, like a cop's badge number. Zoom in on the badge number for long enough so that it's a steady shot.
So you can visible.
Yeah. But just make sure you don't stay zoomed in all the time, because then the video can be scattered, and just try to keep your videos steady as possible and stuff like that. And also afterwards, also if you don't have a camera, just be writing stuff down. Write down badge numbers, write down cop car numbers, write down time, location, all these things. And after the incident, write out what happened as soon as you can, because you know our minds have ways of forgetting like minor details. We can remember the event, but then the details.
Yeah, that's
the important part. So write it out if you can.
Yeah, I submitted a complaint once to in Manitoba. We have LIRA, the Law Enforcement Review Agency, and I thought that I took really detailed notes, and then I got something back being like, but you didn't say what arm he did this to you with, and so you have to like write down as detailed as you possibly can. I don't know how much it will actually end up helping. Like if the case would have gone. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look through this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you want to do the rest of that? Or I can do this part.
I'm done. The battery's done.
Okay.
Another thing would be to any witnesses around, try and get their information, so that you can contact them later if need be. I think that's it. Oh, and if you are assaulted, like if you have experienced some sort of physical abuse, it's good to go to the doctor too, and then they can be a part of that documenting that
Just get
process,
pictures,
right?
like even your
Take
own.
pictures, yeah.
Of yourself right away and stuff.
But if you feel like you've broken your arm or something, like get that X-rayed. Like these are important. These will be important things depending on how you want to proceed with that in the future.
And all they would say probably was, she fell down. She was so drunk.
Right.
You know.
It happens here lots.
Well, exactly.
I bet.
So then all of that brings us to the question of what do you do with it once you've got all this evidence, you've written up these statements, you've taken this footage, what do you do with it? And so I did a bit of research. You guys probably know maybe better than I do about Ontario, what you can do with it. In terms of like official bodies, it sounds like you guys have a new body called the Office of the Independent Police Review.
Oh yeah.
Have any of you used it?
Never heard of it.
I'm in a. They came to my house and they wanted me to do that process. Well, they say they were, but I think they were just trying to get information about the rally and stuff. And
So it was a police officer that showed up though for you.
two of them, yeah, two of them. So they gave me the pamphlets and stuff for that.
So they were trying to deteriorate her for
They
doing
never
this.
contacted me. This is a month and a half ago, 2 months ago that I did this complaint, and all of a sudden, finally, they just come now without no letter. They're supposed to give me a letter or something. They just come.
Aren't you supposed to have like a 90-day
Just a couple days before this was
The
happening.
rally was
Yeah,
going to
so-
happen. Yeah.
My understanding from what I read up on the internet was it's supposed to be civilian, like police aren't supposed to be involved in it even.
Well, as far as I know, is that I think there is isn't there retired? I thought there was retired people like
officers.
yeah, on there, as far as I knew, and stuff like that. So.
Where they go out and give a heads up. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they need to know the law and they need to know this stuff. So I think I'm not too sure, but I know the SI. Well, I know for sure that what organization is that looks into. Oh, I forget. I'm sorry. I'm zoning out because I'm so tired and stressed out, and this is bringing up stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to my little safe place right now. So if you can just keep on going, it'll be a lot better.
Sure.
Thanks.
I just from what I've read on the internet, it seems like according to people that are writing about this on the internet that the Ontario, like that this commission is actually like one of the better ones in Canada. which isn't to say it's good. I don't know anything about it. I know that ours in Manitoba is really terrible, that there's really never anything that comes out of it, and it can be a really like dehumanizing experience, and because nothing comes out of it, and then they end up saying things like, well, it comes down to your word against the police officers, and we believe the officers more than yours, and so it can become just
I was going to say something along those lines, like Kenora being a small town and everybody knows everybody. Well, the way the court systems, and I'm no stranger to the court systems. When I was younger, I was a wild child, and I was in and out of the courts. And the way it works is, from what I've seen, is like the judges and lawyers and Crown and the police. They all work for each other. Like, you know, what benefits them. Like, okay, I got this guy. He, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? The cops will present it to the Crown, and if the cops want something done personally because they know him, well, they're in cahoots with like the Crown, you know. So the Crown will just do in favor for the police officer rather than, you know, like their job. So they're all in cahoots, so it's hard to get anything done.
Systematic racism.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's definitely a hierarchy.
Yeah.
In Canada, everywhere, colonialism.
But Kenora is really, really bad for that. Though. Like,
It is. Yeah.
stereotyping you, like who you grew up with, like your past, who you know, which family you belong to. Like, I mean,
Part of living in a small town, but they should still maintain their professionalism.
Yeah.
like I mean, they, like I was earlier, 10 minutes in town, and I get rolled up on by cops. Like, what the hell, man? Like, I've been gone 8 years here. Like, what's going on here? I didn't even do anything. I get off the bus, and you guys are rolling up on me and harassing me. And that's what I said. I said, it's harassment. I said, and I took badge numbers, but not even called. Nothing was done.
Yeah.
You did nothing about it.
Yeah. Also, I've just from what I read on the internet, it sounds like this Office of the Independent Police Review, they can't actually even lay criminal charges. So I think that what ends up coming out of it is
They
like
don't,
Nothing.
They don't have the jurisdiction to. They don't have that.
They can recommend.
or
Probably just a falsified system, just to.
At least it still is there, that they are documenting and things, but still, for what sorry, I'm just gonna just do this little spiel about the Ombudsman of Ontario. He says that when they investigate, the SIU investigates, okay, about 36 shootings, only 2 maybe get some criminal charges, but that's criminal charges. They're not go to court and get prosecuted for it.
Right.
So, that's higher up than murder and rape and stuff. So if this is what she's talking about, I feel that I think there's a lot of, as you say, unaccountability as you in Winnipeg too. So.
and so the other place that you can go is what has been brought up a couple times, the Special Investigations Unit. And so
Write that down.
the SIU, Special Investigation Unit, they can look into like the death and serious injury and sexual assault that the Office of the Independent Police Review, they won't look into. But it's made up entirely of former police officers or people that have worked.
Yeah, they're all friends. They're still friends. Nothing is done. Like, I mean, I know of cases where girls were sexual assaulted in Kenora, and they're like, oh, they're Aboriginal. They were all drinking. It just gets thrown out like that. Like, I mean, but then I look white, but whatever. I'm not white. Like, I mean, like when a white girl or something happens to,
That's okay.
Any woman.
I did already, so.
No, it's not any woman. It's just they stereotype people. Like Aboriginal girls, they don't even get looked at twice. It's like, oh, she was all drinking, she was doing this, she asked for it. That's how these cops think in this town, and it's that's not right. Women are women. Like, I mean, us guys, we go out and do whatever we do. Guys are different than from women. Like, women should have
Respect.
more protection. Like us guys we're guys, right?
I don't know.
No,
I'm
I
getting off
We
the
should
topic.
talk about this later,
Yeah.
Like, what I'm saying is,
I'm saying we need to get through
Aboriginal
this.
women don't get the respect that they should have.
No.
They get, oh, it's an Aboriginal woman, she's all getting drunk, she's asking for it. And that's what they do, they put it off. Because I know personally, I know a lot of girls, like, that come and say, oh, you know, this happened, cops come and...
That's why they're having this investigation out in BC right now about the missing and murdered Aboriginal women.
Yeah.
And the way that the RCMP dealt with that, which they didn't deal with it, and so now it's being investigated. But I think you're right that there's definitely is some.
All the ones in Edmonton is done by.
It's by race. That's what they're doing.
I think with even with poverty too, is where a lot of crime.
Your skin color shouldn't matter. Like, I mean, if it doesn't matter if you're white, brown, black, whatever, you know, you should be treated equal.
Yeah.
But in Kenora, it doesn't happen.
We're almost done.
It's okay, she's there.
Yep.
Everybody.
Pretty much in the end. The other thing that I was just going to add about the SIU, the Special Investigations Unit, was that from what I read on the internet, that almost always officers are cleared of any wrongdoing. So pretty ineffective from what it sounds like.
Yeah. And so in terms of, to continue on what can we do with this information, maybe we'll just share a couple stories of other cities and other groups and what they're doing. There's a group in Portland, a cop watch in Portland, Rose City Cop Watch. What they've done is a campaign where they make the community aware of violent police officers. And I mean, you could argue that all police officers are violent, but they specifically look at officers who have been involved in killing people. And they organize a campaign around notifying the community that these officers are in their community. And if they don't actually know who these officers are, they have put out posters saying, do you know this, do you have a picture of this officer? And they'll give the name. Please send it here and we'll submit this. And then they've made booklets that can be distributed so that people are aware of who these cops are, what they've done, and it's a way of even documenting these specific officers and the amount of violence that is happening, because often, you know, as you're saying, it's good to document within these official realms, like but often they don't get documented too, right? So this is a way of the community documenting themselves and creating their own databases and stuff.
Yeah, police get like this protection. Like if somebody murders someone that isn't a police officer, like their name and face are all over the news, but police never know which police officer did it. Like they're protected. Yeah. And so this was a way that Portland did it.
Above the law.
Yeah, Portland, so they actually made these posters that said, like, armed and dangerous. They described what this police officer did. They had a picture of him and put them up in the community so people could know.
Well, if I ever do that, if I get shot, please know that, bring up from there, because I know people from here, who's done that.
The only one that can take anybody out of this world is God.
And we also don't want to suggest that you do any of these things. We're just trying to, like, talk about what has happened, and as we also said, that Kenora is specific and there will be different ways that Kenora will approach their own issues. Other things that have been useful for people, if you're electronically and technologically equipped with Twitter and things like that, like people send out notifications, like if there's an incident happening in downtown Kenora, people will submit that out, and then if there's someone close, they come out and they videotape the incident, right? And it's a way of just supporting each other. And other groups are starting to create like just these more electronic databases, so that if you don't really feel like coming out and publicly making these statements, you can go onto the website and enter the information, tell your story, provide the officer's name, provide the date, all these details, and this is being compiled in these databases. So, what else is there? I think the fact that cop watching is happening, it is being perceived as a threat by a lot of police officers. If you look in the States, and there's specific states now that are making it illegal to videotape police officers. And
Really?
people are actually serving federal prison time for, so that kind of tells us that it is effective in a way, and because it is perceived as a threat.
We found out that when we go on patrols and when we're seen out on the street, we put patches on our back that say like Cop Watch Volunteer, and so they know who we are. And we were told that as soon as a cop sees us out there, they go on the radios and let all the police know that Cop Watch is out that night. So it is like it's doing something. Like if they are worried enough to share it and they think it's something that they need to share with all the police, like it's like maybe that night they're acting in a different way. Maybe that night they're different behavior.
Change your behavior because somebody's watching.
Yeah.
I just don't know how far it goes for infiltration and surveillance. I swear I don't know how far it goes because it's kind of scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, and you're right. Like, if we can learn anything from the G20 is that surveillance is happening at an unprecedented level, and they're infiltrating groups, and they're spending millions and millions of dollars on making sure they know who's who, especially towards Indigenous activism. When Harper came in, he made it clear to CSIS that he wanted a specific surveillance team put on Indigenous activism.
You could Google and you could see your own property, private property.
So are they allowed? Well, I know with the Terrorist Act now they're allowed to go into your email and stuff. So like, is that in the United States or will they go into your email now? The police.
I mean, I'm not. And I really don't know. There is a bill that's going through right now. I'm not so sure on the details, but they want to make like law enforcement agencies not have to get a warrant to kind of go through your electronic information.
Yeah,
So
I think
that would
in the
include
Harper
emails.
government is doing that.
And so
That kind of goes against freedom of speech and privacy.
You get arrested here with a cell phone, guarantee you they're going through it.
Oh yeah.
Guarantee you if you're known like anything, like your past, you're known to get busted for drugs or anything like that, they'll take your phone and find you.
And the way they're like,
I thought their motto was to serve and protect, not to suppress.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, people around the world, I think, are starting to think about that. Like, they're supposed to be there technically to do us a service, and it seems like they're more doing us a disservice. You know, and I think it's also specific communities that are experiencing that too. So, cop watching is just one of those things that has kind of emerged as trying to change that and trying to confront that. So, anyways, I think we would like to hear more from you all now, and I don't know how you wanted to proceed.
Yeah, now that Calvin, now you can yap all you want, tell your story.
Now, eh?